With just over 1/5 of the population of Northern Ireland having a recognised disability, there is an increasing need for better awareness and access provision. Some leading public representatives understand the importance of this.
People in a wheelchair are just people with a disability, just like the rest of us. They've money to spend and they should be treated like everyone else.
City and borough councils are continually striving to improve facilities and services.
Within Newtownarby, we have a population of about 80 thousand people, and around about 20% of the people, which equates to, I think it's about 16,000 and something, would sort of be designated as having a long-term disability.
What's council doing to improve their properties for people with disabilities?
We're doing an improvement around our playground and things like that over the next few years, and it's about £400,000 worth. Now, we're hoping, and we are doing our best, that they will be sort of all-inclusive, that people with a range of disabilities will be able to use those and access those. And again, we're working with a lot of agencies to help us to ensure that we actually get it right.
All the buildings that are built in Belfast have to go through building control, and we run that service here. So if the building isn't up to scratch, it doesn't meet the service, then the building will not be passed.
Public and private bodies cannot make improvements on their own. Importantly, people with disabilities must be proactive in developing their own independence.
What should people with disabilities do to make a difference?
I think that disabled people themselves should become involved in organisations like Disability Action, or, for example, in local access groups, or in other fora where people voice their own concerns and advocate or lobby for change on their own behalf.
Well, and truthfulness, there's always areas that you can improve on, and as I say, we certainly don't profess to have everything, everything sort of right. But again, we can't really do that on our own. We actually need the input, from organisations that work with people with disabilities and actually the local people themselves, so that we can actually get it. We can get it right. Well, we can try to get it right.
A much simpler thing which disabled people could do, which would impact and change, is to use accessible services where they are. Because if a businessman, for example, has outlaid probably quite considerable money in some instances to improve access, and the services aren't used by disabled people, there's no encouragement there to sort of take further action or to encourage other people to take action. So where there are accessible services, disabled people should use them.
One example of the business community rising to the challenge to improve access is a website called Disabled Go.
So you can go on any hotel, restaurant, bar, any facility really in the city. There's 200 venues that are actually written up on our website, on the Disabled Go website, and you can check out to see how accessible they are. So it's a really fantastic site.
Some people may not be aware of the impact of the recent ban on smoking in public places.
I imagine the problem is that there's increased furniture outside on the pavement, and that means your access is blocked really to get up and down the street. I can imagine somebody with a visual impairment has a huge problem with that, because if they're used to going up and down roads that they're familiar with, and then all of a sudden there's garden furniture, there's street furniture. The other thing is that they all block the entrances to have their smoke when it's raining. And it means that apart from the fact that you have to walk past this smoke haze to get in, it's not very good for health and safety for people with disabilities trying to get in and out of the building.
Sometimes the most immovable object can be a person. And in order to sort of still have the freedom to pass on a pavement, one can be relying on the people who are standing outside to move out of the way.
Increased awareness in many public bodies has meant that access issues should be further up the agenda now and in the future.
Well, I would like to see a better public realm where it's more easier for people with a disability. whether it be walking or in a wheelchair, that it's easier to get around. Accessibility, lower curbs, drop curbs where people can get up, down the wheelchair. These are all small things, but they can make a difference in a person's life.
However, physical access is not the only concern.
The attitudes that people have are blocking access rather than the physical access.
The biggest barrier is not steps at a door or a door width or other sort of physical aspects which can ultimately be overcome. The biggest barrier is actually in the attitudes of the people whom you interact with whenever you are out shopping, for example, or out enjoying yourself or going about your day-to-day activities.
That's it.